Good evening. Thank you and welcome to everybody who is attending live. At our company, we believe in punctuality. So it is 7 o'clock on the dot and we are getting ready going. You might not be live. You might be watching the recording. And if that is you watching the recording, whatever time it is, I'm glad that you're able to watch this. My name is Landon Meadows and I'm going to be your host / introduction concierge for tonight's event. Tonight's event has a special place in my heart because the main speaker tonight has made a huge impact in my life and the lives of many of the other people that are on this call. I come from small town, middle of nowhere, Wyoming, and I met Nick because I wanted something more. And I wanted to become really good. I wanted to understand the game of money, and I wanted to understand how I could teach that to other people. I asked around my former boss at the time. I said, hey, who's the best of the best? Who's the best that you know? And he had been in this industry and known quite a few people in the insurance, financial advisor, wealth management industry. And he told me, you got to meet this guy, Nick Palumbo. Okay, who's Nick Palumbo? I meet this guy. He's not famous. Tried to look him up on Instagram. No Instagram. Tried to look him up on Facebook. Found him on Facebook. No social media. I'm like, who is this guy? Well, turns out when you're one of the top financial advisors in the country, you're a 63-year-old Italian from the Bronx, and you've built relationships and been in this business for 42 years, you don't need an Instagram to get clients and to help people. About midway through this presentation, when Nick gets going, he's going to show you what we refer to as this elusive thing we like to call the model. And this model is something that revolutionized, and I'll let Nick talk a little more about it, but this revolutionized Nick's life and his business in 1991 when he discovered this. Before he jumped into it, he had it verified by people at Wharton, other financial institutions, his closest friends, actuaries, and they're like, hey, this is verifiable. This is different. This is something worth pursuing. And he has since 1991, which well before my time, as you guys could probably assume. And over the last 5 years, I've learned a lot from Nick. And he's going to distill some powerful lessons in the next 53 minutes with you guys. So the main presentation is going to be about an hour. We'll leave about 15, 20 minutes open for Q&A. But the reality is 43 years of expertise, a model that has 10 financial rules with over 50 strategies. No way you can get it all into an evening. So the whole point of this evening is to get you guys to start thinking a little bit, to put some ideas in your head. But if you really want to get the most value, all of the advisors that are also on this call that have invited you as to be their guest, they've been in a coaching program that Nick has created. So they understand these philosophies. They understand these principles, and they can custom tailor make it to your needs. So please do yourself a favor. Book a call with the advisor that invited you. If any of these things resonate with you, if none of these things resonate with you, then you might not be a good fit to work with the advisors on the call. And that's okay. We appreciate you taking the time to be able to give us your attention for an hour, and hopefully we add value. And honestly, the last thing I'll say, I've learned many things from Nick, secrets of the 1% over the past 5 years of being with him. And tonight, I hope that you guys are able to enjoy learning just a couple. And as a final bonus for you guys showing up tonight, he wrote this book. This book says, you have infinite power. He wrote it with 3 of his other founders of his original coaching company. This book features what is called the Transformation Doctrine. This is his martial arts principles that he learned overseas, power of the human mind, starting with T, the power of thought, controlling your thoughts, all the way down to N, which is the new you. This book has changed hundreds and hundreds of lives. And I convinced him to digitize it into a course. And so those of you that turned up tonight, we're going to give you access to that course. All you got to do is reach out to us at the end. If we don't get it to you on a timely manner, we'll be right on that. All right. So with that, I appreciate you guys allowing me to have a brief introduction. Welcome to the Secrets of the 1% by the man himself, Nick Palumbo. Yay! Let's go, Nick!
Thank you, Landon. And thank you all for attending this evening to listen to this old man talk about secrets of the one percenters. So first of all, thank the advisor who invited you here. You're special people in their lives. Either you've impacted them in some way, or you're a client of theirs. And this is a way for them to say, not only thank you for the confidence you've instilled in them, but to consistently bring value to their existing clients or potential clients. So as Landon said, I've been doing this 43 years. I started when I was 9 years old. Just kidding. But let me tell you my story a little bit. What gives me the authority to sit here and share with you how the wealthiest people think? I migrated here at 2 years old from Italy, literally migrated on a boat on the Leonardo da Vinci. And I remember living in the Bronx, New York at the time, in the ghettos. Grew up in the streets, basically. And I never saw my dad. He worked 3 jobs, delivering milk. In those days, they used to deliver milk, washing dishes, and he was a tailor. He worked the 3 jobs because he tried so hard to get us out of the ghetto and move into the suburbs. Eventually, by the age of 13, we did move into the suburbs and became a middle-class family, went into normal schooling, went to college, paid for my college education. And then I saw my dad when he got ready to retire, that he basically couldn't live. He just couldn't make ends meet. It was very, very, very poor planning. A traditional Italian man that had a lot of pride wouldn't take advice from his son because the tree was too close to the forest. So never did anything. So at that point in time, when he retired, I was helping to pay the bills for my parents. And I swore to myself that I will never allow another person, when they retire and they start to distribute wealth, to live the way my parents had to live. Okay. The second thing that impacted me, God blessed me with a beautiful wife for the last 35 years. But early on, I was married for a short stint for 1 year. And I remember back in 1983, my wife at the time came down with a condition known as anorexia nervosa. And I started in the financial services practice. And at the time, I was earning $14,400 a year. And because she was in the hospital for psychiatric treatment, I ended up getting a bill that was not covered by health insurance for $27,000. And I went to my father-in-law at the time, and who was a multi-millionaire. And I said, Dad, I don't know if I could pay this bill. Can you help me? He said, well, it's your wife, your problem. And in 1983, I never forget it like it was yesterday, I was online on welfare. I looked up to the heavens and I said, God, this isn't what it was meant to be. Help me, show me, show me. So I started to learn the game of money. And working as a traditional financial planner, many of you may have had some traditional financial planning where you get a 40-page financial plan and 38 pages of boilerplate with beautiful graphs in them. And you have to give it to an accountant or an attorney to translate it for you. And it goes in the garbage because it's based on complete guesswork. And although I was doing that type of planning at the time, not until 1991, because I tend to be a little bit technical. I need math and science to verify the opinions that we're getting out there. So I didn't discover this. Someone else discovered it. I just learned about it in 1991, and it revolutionized not only my business, but my clients' lives. So how do the one percenters, how do they really think about money? We always say 10% of the population controls 90% of the wealth. They are the uncommon thinkers. And then there's the 90-10ers. They're the common thinkers. And Landon said it before. If we can get you to think uncommonly the way wealthy people think, the advisor that invited you here tonight, he or she is the right fit for you. So how do wealthy people think? Warren Buffett says it the best. Whatever everyone else is doing, I'm doing the opposite. He also had another great quote that I just saw. You ever notice that people pull down, they go to Wall Street, they pull up in a Bentley, right? Or Mercedes or BMW, but the person that they're going to for advice is taking the subway. What's wrong with that formula? Okay. So how do the wealthiest people think about money? Number one, they have an abundant mentality. They don't think why I can't. They think how I can. They tap into their imagination. They understand leverage, liquidity, and control of their money. They understand that cash is king. They look at the challenges and not the problems. They know how to convert challenges into opportunities. They understand velocity or efficiency of money. They understand the opportunity cost of money. So wealthy people think along those lines, but here's the most important thing. They all are pursuing what I call a worthy ideal. It's not about the money, it's about something that's bigger than them. So they're passionate about what they do. So worthy ideal, I'll put that on top. Okay. So these are some ways that they think about, but I'm going to get into real life applications, okay, about money. You know, Dana White, who I was watching an interview with him, and he's a very wealthy guy. I don't know how many hundreds of millions he's worth. So somebody asked him a question. What do you think about money? He said, money is a way for me to create memories with my family. See, passion drives revenue. It's not the other way around. When advisors come into the business and they think they're going to make a ton of money, run away from that advisor. Every advisor that invited you here tonight has a worthy ideal and a purpose. And their purpose is to impact and inspire you guys and ladies to move forward to action, to provide wealth for generations to come. It's their legacy. It's the impact that they make. Now, here's the problem. That's a mountain. And we call it 3 phases of life. If any of you have ever gone hiking, one of our partners loves to hike. He's hiked up the Himalayas and down the Himalayas. When you're hiking up the mountain. That's the accumulation phase of your life. You're accumulating wealth, right? But most deaths occur when people come down the mountain. And that's called the distribution phase of your life. A lot of advisors do this fairly well. But where the shortfall is cash flow at retirement. Maximum cash flow at retirement. And the final phase is preservation phase. Who do we want to preserve this wealth for? Basically, upon our demise, we have one of 3 partners. We have government, we have charities, or we have our families. Pick 1 or 2 of the 3. I know which one I want to avoid, okay? So we're going to focus a lot on distribution planning this evening. When we talk about money, you have to look at the economy. And there are 4 sectors of the economy. There's government, there's corporations, there's financial institutions, and us, the consumers. These 3 sectors, government, corporations, and financial institutions, are in business to transfer your wealth away from you and to them. How do they do that? They have rules. Let's think of some rules that the government has. Federal taxes, state taxes, sales tax, payroll tax, estate tax, luxury tax, excise tax. You guys get my point, right? The tax code was 70,000 pages under Obama, okay? 70,000 pages. How do we get those tax dollars so that we can get rid of the $35 trillion national debt? Corporations also have rules. Apple competes with Samsung. BMW competes with Mercedes, and they have rules. One rule is planned obsolescence. Oh, there's a new model car. There's new style in clothing. I can't wear double-breasted suits anymore because they're out of style. They're still in my closet because hopefully someday they'll come back in style. So style changes in clothing, technological changes, right? My first cell phone was the size of my arm. I remember walking with a little suitcase. I had to wheel the cell phone around. Now you can put it in your pocket. They're up to the Apple 16, whatever number they're up to. I remember black and white TVs in the Bronx with a little coat hanger hanging out of it. That was the antenna, right? And it used to have aluminum foil for reception on there. And the remote control with the pliers, because the knob came off. I only had 3 channels, channel 2, 4, and 7 on there. Technology changes so fast, okay? And they do that for a reason. So you have planned obsolescence, you have technological changes, shipping and handling, service agreements, style changes in clothing, accessories, right? And all these things. That's done for a reason, so they capture more of your dollars. Whatever is left over, the financial institutions compete for the balance. Banks want your money. Insurance companies want your money. Mutual funds want your money. Private equity wants your money. Hedge funds want your money. They want you to give them money on a regular and ongoing basis. They want to hold on to it for as long as possible and give you back as little as possible. So we believe everything we read without validation. Show me the math, like the Jerry Maguire movie. Show me the money, right? And they have rules. 401ks are a tax deduction. Biggest lie, because it's not a deduction, it is a postponement. And if we're in a $35 trillion national debt, where do we think taxes have to go in the future? That's number one. Number two, I tell my clients this all the time. If I'm doing your planning over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, 30 years when you retire, and you are in a lower bracket, you should fire me. Because you don't need me to be in a lower bracket. That means you're making less money. So they have 401ks, the magic of compound interest. Sounds good. Einstein said it was good, right? But one of the rules, what wealthy people know, is called velocity of money, which says that money has to be in motion. Money should never be left to compound, because you're compounding your taxes. So I ask a stupid question to my clients. If I could show you how to compound your wealth, but not compound your taxes, when would you want to know about it? You still can compound wealth without compounding taxes. You have 529 plans for college, right? I'll use that, one of my examples. I'll be 64 soon. My son went to college, Arizona State, $50,000 a year. I was 53 at the time. So financial institutions say, well, put your money in a 529 plan, because if you use it for college, it's tax-free. That is true. Here's the problem. Here's what they don't tell you. So I give Arizona State $50,000 at age 53, 54, 55, and 56. Most financial advisors say, well, it costs you $200,000. Well, no, because I gave it to the financial institutions, therefore that money cannot grow in my world. So if I gave up $200,000 and I'm earning 5% on that money over my life expectancy of age 82 for a male, that $200,000 is $858,000. That's the true cost of college. Well, then the question becomes, how do I keep that money in my world and still pay for college? Okay. So you have front-end charges, trading costs, commissions, all of these rules to capture more of your dollars. Here's the important question. As consumers, what rules do you use to make intelligent financial decisions? You know, one of the questions I always ask my clients, when you make financial decisions, do you make those decisions based on opinions or facts? And they always say facts. And then the follow-up question to that is, okay, what mathematical or scientific model are you using to validate that so that you know it's a fact? Then I don't use a model. Well, what are you using? I'm using someone's opinion that I heard on TV, on the internet, or an advisor, etc. So in order to have a successful financial life, you need to have 4 things. You don't need a 40-page financial plan. Number one, you need a financial game board. I'm going to show it to you this evening. You need an architectural drawing on 1 page of what your finances look like today, at this point in time. Just like a chessboard. I cannot play the game of chess without understanding the rules of how to play chess. Well, on this financial game board that I'll show you in a moment, there are, as Landon mentioned, there are 10 financial rules. I'm not going to get into all 10 tonight. Your advisors know what those 10 are. And there's 50 strategies. No two models are alike. It's like a fingerprint. There are 50 strategies. Which strategies apply to you? We're going to touch on a couple of strategies this evening. So once we have the game board, the economic game board, we teach you the rules and the strategies that apply to you. The third thing you need is you need a technology platform that can stress test the rules. Should I have a 15-year mortgage? Should I have a 30-year mortgage? Should I buy term insurance and invest in different? Should I have permanent insurance? Should I leave my dividends to compound? Should I not leave my dividends to compound? How do I pay for college? How do I finance the car? Should I lease it? Should I finance it? Should I buy it? How do I buy my equipment in my business? All those things that we put it on the model and we stress test it. What is the best way to accomplish this? So we have the game board, we have the rules, the strategies that apply, the simulator that tests the rules, and the fourth thing you need, and this is where your advisors come in. These advisors are the top in their respective, in our industry. They know this like the back of their hand, and that's why they invited you to come here. You need a financial coach. You need a swing coach. Landon mentioned it before. It's process-driven instead of product-driven. Wall Street focuses on products. Give you an example. I enjoy the game of golf. I could go get the best state-of-the-art golf clubs. I'm not necessarily going to be a better golfer. But if I get lessons from Tiger Woods for 30 days, I'll be a better golfer. The golf swing is the process. The golf club is the product. The process is more important than the product. Money works very much the same way. So when you're sitting down with advisors, your world looks like this. You sit in the middle, that's you. And you have your CPA giving you some advice. You might have an attorney giving you other advice. You might have an insurance broker. You might have an investment advisor. You might have a financial planner. You might have a banker or a trust officer. And you might have your brother-in-law, Bill. And you're sitting in the middle, and all of these people are giving you opinions. They're not sitting in a boardroom simultaneously discussing your financial landscape. They're giving you opinions at different points in time under a changing economic environment, and you're sitting in the middle and you become confused. And as a result, all you do is transactional. You're just buying things from different people at different points in time. So most clients, when we meet them, do what I call junk drawer financial planning. Now, you have a junk drawer in the kitchen. That's how people do their finances. What your advisors do is they sit in the middle with you, stress test all the opinions you're getting out there from all these advisors, mathematically, scientifically, so you make intelligent financial decisions based on facts and not opinions. The benefit to you, you'll have much more wealth over your lifetime and peace of mind that when you retire, you can maintain the lifestyle that you've always dreamed of. You know, the College of Financial Planning says that when we retire, we need 70% of our income. 70% of our income. So I called the college years ago. I said, how'd you come up with 70%? Where's the mathematical evidence that someone needs less money when they retire? Their answer to me was, well, the kids are out of the house. The mortgage is paid off. You don't need as much money. I said, well, can you tell me what taxes are going to be 10, 15, 20 years from now? They said, no. Can you tell me what inflation is going to be? They said, no. Can you tell me what planned obsolescence? I'm replacing things in my world when I retire. I might want to replace that 20-year-old carpet in my house. I may need a roof repair. Can you tell me what inflation is going to be? Can you tell me if there's any unexpected life events that happen? Nursing home or whatever that may be. Can you tell me what expected life events a person has? Right now, people work 5 days a week. They play 2 days a week. When do we spend our money? When we play. How many days a week we're going to play when we retire? 7 days a week. We don't need less money. We need more money. I'm sure if your advisors show you how to have 100% or better of income, you're not going to go back to them and say, I only need 70%. You gave me too much, right? So here's what happens. Here's how people go through life. You sit down with an advisor, broker, and they say to you, give me $1. We're going to invest this money over time. And if we invest that money at a certain rate of return over that time frame, you'll have a number, $2 million, whatever the number is. Okay. This is like going on a sailboat. I'm sailing along at 5 knots, but I have a current coming at me at 5 knots. Where am I going? I'm standing still. And what happens, and I've seen this with relatives of mine, that when they retire, they have to go to the early bird special for dinner because the dinner is cheaper. Here are the currents. There's pressure on this yield curve. Taxes, 1. 2 is opportunity cost. When I spend $1, I lost the opportunity to invest that dollar somewhere else in my world. It's amazing to me when we sit down with clients, how much dollars we recapture from dollars that they unknowingly are losing to government and financial institutions. When we teach them how to recapture those dollars and move it on the right side of the balance sheet, they have more wealth. You have inflation. I call that the stealth tax, inflation. You have planned obsolescence. See, you have to come off of this curve to pay for things, the new roof, the new carpeting, the renovation. You have technological changes. I want the newest LED, LCD, curved TV. You have unexpected life events. And I'll share my personal story that's close to my heart. And I'm 63, my brother would be 55 now. At the age of 34, he was divorced, had full custody of his kids, lived in Florida. Tragically passes away, was in a coma. I made a bed, and he had custody of the kids. So, you know, his wife was not, wife at the time, ex-wife, was not involved in their lives. But I made a bedside promise that I would take care of those kids. Well, those kids needed braces, they needed college, they needed the same things that my 2 kids needed. That was an unexpected life event. You have expected life events, bar mitzvahs, christenings, weddings, sweet 16 parties, things that you have to pay for. You have to come off of this curve. You have market volatility. You know, there's advisors out there that talk about, hey, if you just put your money in the stock market, and there's a place for the stock market. I have money in the stock market. If you put money in the stock market, you should average 12% rate of return. And when you retire, you could pull out 10% a year and your money should still grow. Sounds logical, right? But the markets don't work linearly. They don't earn 12, 12, 12, 12. They go up and they come down. That's called sequence of returns. And I'm going to demonstrate the impact of what that does in your world. And then you have management fees that you pay the brokers. Again, this causes pressure, and you go through life, you retire, you say, where the heck's all the money? What your advisors are very skilled at doing is to teach you how to mitigate or eliminate these pressures so that you're sailing with the current. And let me give you some of the lies that are being told to you by Wall Street. They always promote average rate of return of an investment. Average rate of return. Money Magazine does, you know, their 3-year average, 5-year average, and their mutual funds. And if you ever pick up Money Magazine, they'll have in 1 month's issue, they have certain mutual funds. Next month, different mutual funds. So I called the magazine one time. I said, which one should I buy? Last month's issue or this month's issue? And I said, you're misleading the public. You're talking about 3-year average and 5-year average. Let me give you an example. If you invest $100,000 and you lost 10%, those of you who are good at math, you would have $90,000. 10% off of the 100,000 is $90,000. Sit tight, the market will come back. In year 2, it goes back up 10%. You only have $99,000. You have a -1 actual rate of return, but my average was 0. -10 plus 10 divided by 2, 0. Okay. So the markets work in actual, not average. Okay. I'm going to talk about 4 principles. I'm going to show you some calculations. Principle number 1, velocity of money. It says money has to be in motion to accumulate wealth faster. I'll give you one quick example of this. You put your money in a bank, it's in a CD. There's a maturity date on a CD. We take it for granted. Why is there a maturity date on a CD? Because the bank needs to hold on to your money because they want to lend it out. How do they lend it out? They go to the Federal Reserve, which is a corporation, and they can borrow money from the Federal Reserve at a 10-to-1 ratio. So if a bank has $1 million on deposit, they could lend out $10 million. So let's assume, for argument's sake, that the net that they earn on that when they lend out the money is 5%. 5% on $10 million is $500,000. They have $1 million on deposit, they earn $500,000. That's 50% that they earned on your CD, and they're paying you 3, 4, or 5%. See, they don't take on market risk, they take on credit risk. They understand leverage, they understand velocity of money. Banks do this all the time. What we do and what your advisors do there is they teach you how to think like a bank, think like a financial institutions. That's how the uncommon people, the wealthiest people, the secrets of the 1%ers, that's how they think. They don't think like an individual. Okay, so I'm going to show you some calculations to show you this, so give you the mathematical evidence and proof. And I'm going to give you some examples. So I talked about 4 principles before I do. 4 principles. The one is velocity of money. The second is opportunity cost. The third is leverage, liquidity, and control of your wealth. But here's the most important principle. As consumers, you focus on internal rate of return of an asset. What is the rate of return I get in my CD, my mutual funds, my insurance policy, whatever assets you own? We could have the same amount of money, same time frame. You're earning 9% on your money. I'm earning 3% on my money. You should have more money than me. Even though you took on more risk, you should have more money than me over time. The only difference is I understand 2 other rates of return. And this is the single most important thing that we teach. I understand external and eternal rate of return. I will have a ratio of wealth of at least 2-to-1 more than you and take on a lot less risk. So I'm going to define it first and then demonstrate those 2 rates of return. External rate of return. Best way I could describe it is using an example. I bought a condo for $100,000. I sold it for $200,000. Internal rate of return. I can calculate what the rate of return is over that time frame. Okay. I had the same condo, but I took $50,000 of equity from that condo. I bought a second condo. And that second condo appreciated in value. I took depreciation on the condo, which is a tax benefit. I have mortgage interest deduction, not postponement like a 401k. And I have rental income. So those rates of return are external rates of return off of the first condo. It's how I use leverage in my assets. And I don't care what those assets are. There's a way, for example, if you own IRAs and you're under 59.5, there's a way through a tax code called 72T that you can take money out penalty free. Okay, just to give you an example. So eternal rate of return. The definition of eternal rate of return is the integration and coordination of how assets work with each other. Your advisors here that invited you, they don't look at assets separately. Here's your 401k, here's your insurance, here's your investments, here's your savings. They look at how they work together. How do we integrate and coordinate those assets together to produce a powerful or a turbocharge effect or multiplier effect on your money? An example of that analogy is if I give you too much oxygen or not enough, you would die. If I gave you hydrogen, poisonous gas, you would die. If I mix hydrogen and oxygen, I get a powerful element known as water. Okay, so I'm going to show you some calculators here. I'm going to show you sequence of returns. Oh, before I do that, this is the economic model that your advisors are equipped to show you. It's called the LEAP model. Lifetime Economic Acceleration Planning. Your blueprint is comprised of 27 elements or boxes. The purple represents protection. We want to protect your wealth against what? death, disability, taxes, inflation, lawsuit, anything that can make your wealth go away. What's the sense of earning a high rate of return? And if you got sued, your money in your investment account disappears. The bigger your castle, the bigger the moat. So the purple is all protection. The orange is all savings, liquidity. One of the rules is we want you to have saved 50% of your annual income should be in liquid instruments. That's just a rule, okay? You should be also saving 20% of income somewhere. So if you're earning $200,000, you should be saving $40,000 a year. In Singapore, one of the richest places in the world, their saving rate is 48%. The saving rate here in America is 4.8%. Okay. And the bottom box is the blue, is the growth component. Corporate bonds, government bonds, municipal bonds, preferred stocks, blue chip stocks, growth securities, collectibles, real estate, and businesses. Okay. So that's the model. And what your advisors are equipped to do is to take you through that process. And for those of you that are here tonight, they're not going to charge you a fee to take you through this process. Okay. Because you took the time to come on this call. So let me show you some calculators and what I'm talking about. First calculator I'm going to show you is retirement pressures, distribution, coming down the mountain, okay? And what happens when you're coming down the mountain? In retirement, it's about cash flow, right? Not about rates of return. Let's say somebody has $2 million and they have $2 million and it's the S&P 500, top 500 US stocks. If you notice there, it says 12.98%. I'm going back to 1973. I'm doing that for a reason. In 1973, if you look at the column, the third from the right, the market, the S&P was down 14.67% in year one. In year two, down 26%. And then it started to rebound. Then it went down again in the fifth year, then went back up, and the ninth year went down. And over that time horizon, 20 years, I think there were 4 or 5 negative years, the rest were positive. So if someone earned 12.59% on your money, you would have been really happy. And this one particular advisor says, look, you could draw out 10% from there. You could draw out 10%, that's $200,000. Now what happened? If you look down here, you see on the column all the way to the right, by age 75, this person is 65 years old. By age 75, they ran out of money. That's poor planning. And that's what advisors don't do well. Why'd they run out of money? You were drawing money out of your investment portfolio in a down market. So I lost 14.67%, plus I pulled out 200. I lost 26%, I pulled out another 200. The money doesn't get a chance to rebound, to recover. There's no fail-safe here. Now, I talked about integration and coordination. Let me show you how insurance, and I don't want this to be an insurance meeting, but how if someone has insurance and the right type, how that coordinates, how that makes your investment portfolio better. In year one, I'm not going to pull out of my investment portfolio because the market went down. I'll take out, what people don't realize, I can pull out tax-free income from the right type of policy from my insurance in year one, year two, year 5, year 9. Those were 4 down years. There was one other year, I think 18. We'll just do 9 for the sake of time. Save schedule. So you notice in year 1, 2, 5, and 9, there was 0, meaning I didn't pull any money out of my investments, so my account had a chance to rebound. Where the first person ran out of money at age 75, the second person who had another faucet that they could turn off one side, turn on the other side, at the end of that 20-year time horizon, they still had $1.7 million in their portfolio. You can't refute the math. Jerry Maguire, show me the money. When you don't have the evidence to back up the opinions, walk away. Let me show you the reality of compound interest. The reality of compound interest. Einstein said that was great. Banks love it. Leave money on deposit. So let's say you have a investment portfolio that's earning dividends. You have a $2 million portfolio. Now, if it's 200, just take a zero off, but let's just use $2 million. $2 million portfolio. And I look at how much dividends you earn in the portfolio. Easy way to tell is you look at the front of your 1040, your tax return, it says ordinary dividends. Those are the dividends that were earned, and that's what you have to pay taxes on. And it represents about 2% of the portfolio is dividend income. The rest of it is all capital appreciation, unrealized gains, okay? You don't pay those taxes until you sell positions. But on the dividends, you pay taxes every year that they're earned, and you're compounding those taxes. Let's assume somebody's in the 35% bracket, okay? And let's go out 20 years. So traditional way of thinking, common way of thinking says leave those dividends in, and at the end of the time frame, because of the dividends, you compound it to $2.9 million at the end of the 20 years. But if you look at the column all the way to the right, just put a cost of money there of 5%. When I spend a tax dollar, I lost the opportunity to invest that dollar, I'm using 5%. You can earn 5% in the money market these days, okay? So I paid taxes each year, and I'm paying more and more taxes. You notice the annual tax keeps going up because I'm compounding those dividends, plus the opportunity cost. So if you look at the column to the far right, it cost you $544,000. Remember that number, 544, to get 2.9 million. But what if velocity of money says, put your money in motion, let's pull out the dividends and put it in another bucket. Go to interest only, unspecified. So end of year. So this person pulled out their dividends. So they don't have 2.9 at the end of the 20 years. They have 2 million. Their taxes went down by about $80,000. So I saved $80,000 in taxes and opportunity cost. But what did I do with that $40,000? So I flattened my tax because I pulled the money out, and I'm going to now invest that in another bucket, a different asset. I don't care what the asset is right now, just on concept here. If I did $40,000, go to a future value calculator. If I did $40,000 over 20 years, and let's just use 4%. Same tax bracket, tax rate, 35%. So what did this other asset produce at the end of the 20 years? No, I don't want to net, take the taxes out because I'm going to put it in a tax-free bucket. Okay. At the end of the 20 years, I have 1.2 million. So the first person had 2.9 million, paid 544 in taxes and opportunity costs. The second person paid 460,000 in tax and opportunity costs, but they have $2 million, forgetting the appreciation for a moment, plus the 1.2 million in this other bucket. So I have 2 million plus 1.2, I have 3.2 million, $300,000 more than the first person, plus $80,000 in tax savings. That's the reality of velocity of money. That validates that money should be in motion because you compounded your wealth, but not compounded your taxes. Okay. So I want to demonstrate eternal rate of return. Person A, person B. I love this calculator. This is one of the most powerful calculators. This is a great representation of how you can take two assets and have better retirement income. Two people, person A, person B, they both have $2 million. It's in, let's keep it simple, money market at Wells Fargo at 5%. Now, one of the rules, and this is an insurance example. People own, life insurance is life insurance at a young age. Life insurance in retirement is asset insurance. And I want a 1-to-1 asset ratio to death benefit at retirement. I'm going to demonstrate why. Okay, illustrate to age 90. So tax rate 35%. So person A now retired. They have this $2 million at Wells Fargo, and they say, you know what? Pay me out my 5% interest out of that. I need to live. So you take out $100,000. I pay tax of $35,000. My net income is $65,000. I don't deplete my account value because I'm just living off the interest, right? And they have no insurance. So there's the legacy. So over that time horizon from 65 to 90, they pulled out 2.6 million, paid 910,000 in tax, netted almost $1.7 million. Now, person B, this is integration and coordination. How does insurance make your investment perform better? Person B took the $2 million, and I'm going to say to them, Mr. and Mrs. Client, spend all your money, enjoy it. I know you have kids. I know you love your kids. Take that $2 million, spend down principal and interest over 15 years. Computer calculates how much principal and interest could I take out over 15 years. It's $192,000. What happens is your taxes will go down. They will decrease because I'm pulling out more principal, therefore less interest, therefore less taxes, therefore higher income. Percentage increase by age 79, I have 191% more money, but I ran out of money. But person B had permanent insurance. They had $2 million. Now, if it's the right type of insurance, that $2 million by age 80 grew to $4 million. We're not showing that here, but it's $2 million because that's what I want to leave my children in this example. The problem with person B is, wait a minute, Nick, I just ran out of money. Oh no, that 2 million that grew to 4 million, let's spend down the death benefit. Insurance advisors don't tell you this. Let me pull out 192,000 tax free. The right insurance policy structured the right way. When you pull out proceeds, it's income tax free during your life. I'm going to pull out 192,000 tax free from my insurance. Person B pulled out $5 million. Paid $311,000 in tax, netted $4.6 million. Because of the coordination with the life insurance, same amount of money, they have $3 million more. Now, here's the question you should be asking yourself. Yes, but person B had $2 million, but he had to pay for the insurance. Let's take that into account. 1.2 million. Okay, that's a big policy, but 1.2 million. That means person B has less money. Person A has $2 million. Person B has $1.2 million in their money market. Let's see who has more money. Person B has $3.6 million. Person A has $1.69 million. $2 million more with less money. Take it a third step further. Person B only is earning 1%. Person A is earning 5%. 5 times the rate of return on their money. Person B has 1.2 million at 1%. Person A has 2 million at 5%. Who has more money? Person B, $3.3 million as opposed to 1.7 and a lot less taxes. The eternal rate of return is critical in the planning process, as well as the external, as well as the internal rate of return. It's not about more risk. It's about less risk. Let me show you one last calculator. I showed this to this young man, he's 50, so he's young to me. He said to me, hey, Nick, I need some term insurance. I said, okay, how much you need? He said, I need $2 million. Okay, what do you need it for? Second marriage, I just want to make sure my wife is covered. I have, some debts and that, et cetera, et cetera. And my accountant said that term insurance is the cheapest thing you could buy. I said, okay, let's calculate it. Let's see if that's the case. He's 50. She's 42. He wants $2 million, 20-year level term. So he wants it from 50 to 70. So at the end of 20 years, it's like a cliff, just runs out. Okay. So $2 million, the premium was $3,500. So hit next. So he would have given an insurance company $70,000 for that 20-year time horizon. And I said to him, if you could have invested this money instead of giving it to the insurance company, what could you earn on your money? He goes, hey, Nick, I could make a minimum of 8%. I said, okay, let's put 8%, cost of money. So I didn't give it to the insurance company. I gave it to I invested it at 8%. So at the end of 20 years, it's 172,000. That's 70,000 would be worth 172,000 if it was invested. I said, how long, stupid question, how long is that money gone for? He said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, how long is it gone for? Is it gone for only the 20 years or is it gone for your entire life with you and your wife? He said, well, my entire life. Okay, what does that look like? She's 42, life expectancy for you is 82, for her is 85. Hit next. To get the $2 million, it cost you $1 million. So it cost you $1 million, and there's a 99% probability that she's not even going to collect the money because you're going to outlive it. So if I look at horizon tables, right, remember that number, cost you $1 million of wealth, go all the way down to horizon tables. He's 50. She's 42. The probability at the end of 20 years, his name is Mark, at the end of 20 years, is 90%, over a 90% chance that you're still going to be alive. So if I asked you to go to Vegas, I want you to bet $1 million on a 10% chance that you're going to hit. Would you do it? He said, of course not. I said, but you're doing it here. See, term insurance, there's a place for it, but a person in your position at the age of 50 with the kind of wealth you have, there's no place for it. It's the most expensive thing you're going to buy. Okay. So I just wanted to give you a flavor of the different calculators on here and how we can validate the opinions you're getting out there from either TV, other advisors, brother-in-law Bill, out there. So I want to leave enough time. I'm right on time, enough time for you to ask some questions in the chat room. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
We don't have any questions coming in the chat yet, Nick, but first of all, I mean, man, I've heard you speak a lot. Anyone else find some value in this? I know we're going to be seeing some messages here in the chat. If you're watching the recording, unfortunately, you don't get to throw anything in the chat. The next time we do a live event, make sure you're here so you can engage with us. Oh, we got a great one right here. When does term make sense, Nick? You said there's a place for it.
Yeah.
What is that place?
So many of our students that are financial advisors work in hospitals for residents. You know, a person that's in medical school has a lot of debt, has a family, needs protection. They buy term because they make $70,000 in residency. Then they go into orthopedics, let's say, and then they're making $500,000-$600,000 a year. You buy convertible term that you could convert to permanent insurance later on. There's a place for it. Or let's say you have business owners that are going to exit their business in 5 years and they might need to fund a buy-sell agreement between them. So you buy term insurance for those 5 years. There's a place for it. But I use the analogy, would you rather own your home or you rather rent it? Term insurance is renting. Permanent insurance is owning. It's an asset. And it should be in the centerpiece of your, like a centerpiece on the dining room table. Insurance allows other things to perform better if you own it in your world. My certainty far outweighs anyone's doubt because I've been doing this for 43 years and I know the power of what it does and how I use it.
Nick, we got a private message in here in the chat. What is your experience with real estate? Have you invested in real estate yourself? Should people get into it? And like, kind of, how much money do I need to get? And when do I determine to go with a real estate route versus maybe insurance or the stock market? How do you gauge that?
First of all, I love real estate. The reason why I love real estate, I love bricks and mortar, right? And the reason why I like real estate is what I said before, because I can get appreciation, hopefully, if I bought the right property. I can depreciate that asset, which is a tax benefit in my pocket. I deduct the mortgage interest. It's not a deferment like a 401k, and I get rental income. So even if my real estate values go down, I still get the rental income off the real estate. The real estate value doesn't go down. So it's not real estate instead of, it's how does real estate work in conjunction with everything else?
Let's see, we get a great answer, by the way. So we got, what advice do you have for a young professional in their early 30s and earning about $150,000 per year? Thanks.
Okay.
All right, what do you got for this
that's
one?
great.
Young
Well,
professional.
So I'm going to give you generally without knowing you. So with what your advisor, whoever invited you here, once they do a model, they'll get even more specific. But one of the rules that I suggest is take 20% of that 150,000, as close to 20% as possible. So I don't know what your cash flow is. I don't know what your debt is, your taxes, but as close as possible, 20% of that income, and start sucking it away. It's about savings, savings, savings. Once you hit 50% of that 150 at $75,000, which is 50% of 150, then redirect it in other buckets and other components.
That's a good piece. That's a good piece. Yeah, one of the things. So I think, who is it that asked that question? Hamid. So me being not quite in the 30s yet, I'm 25 years old. I came to him with this question about 4 years ago. Hey, Nick, I'm a 22-year-old making $150,000. I'm married. I don't have kids. I just sold all of my properties. I had two, by the way, one multifamily, one single family. I just sold both of them because I came to work with you and I have an opportunity to learn and mentor and grow the business. So how do I go about making that investment? And you told me building that liquidity gives you a sense of control. You have options at that point, right? And I think that was just such profound advice.
If I can just expand on that. You have 3 buckets of money: taxable, tax deferred, and tax free. If you look at your goals, what are your short-term goals? What are your intermediate-term goals and long-term goals? You have to fulfill all 3, and money should go in all different buckets. What's available in the taxable, what's available in tax deferred, and most of all, and this is the piece that most people are missing, what's available in the tax free. And it's not a Roth, okay? That's tax free, but you're limited as to what you could put in, and you can't touch the money for a 30-year-old. You can't touch it till 59 and a half, so your money's in jail and locked up.
Nick, we got a question here. It's a little bit different. It's not a typical financial planning question. I think we're the only ones that can see it because it's just to the message to the host. But the question is, how much money do I need to have before a trust makes sense? Because I'm assuming, I mean, there's been a lot of videos around where people are like, oh, you got to put your money in a trust so you can avoid taxes and you can put it in a different country. All these like sophisticated things you see on social media. When do you use a trust? And like, tell us a little bit about it.
There's so many, I could speak for hours on different types of trust. From a basic living trust, all a living trust does is hold assets inside that living trust to eliminate probate. Sometimes they call it a revocable trust, which means it can be changed. If you have someone who's a very high net worth client worth $100 million, they sometimes use what's called an irrevocable trust. Irrevocable trust owns usually life insurance in that trust, so that when they die, someone who's worth $100 million, there's a potential estate tax. There's federal estate tax currently at 40%, and then there's state estate tax. Like Florida has no state estate tax. New York does. Okay. So, but let's just talk federal. So if I have $100 million of assets, I get an exemption under current law, assuming a married couple. It's about $26 million. So that means that $26 million is protected, but anything between 26 million and 100 million, there's a $74 million exposure. 40% on $74 million is $29 million.
That's a lot.
Tax that's due. So what they do is they fund insurance inside of a trust, so that the family gets it not only income tax free, but estate tax free. And there's dynasty trust, beneficiary defector trust. There's so many different trusts. So I can't answer what type of trust a person needs.
So how do you tell if you need one, period?
Well, first of all, it starts from a basic will. Everyone
Basic
should
will.
have a will.
Check. Basic will.
Specific language in the will.
Yep.
Okay.
So we got basic will, and then what would you say would be like the asset range before I need to start considering a trust?
Well, in the very basic will, there's 2 types of basic wills. One's I love you will. I die, I leave everything to my wife. She dies, we leave it all to the kids. And there's what's called a credit shelter will, which utilizes your exemption. That $13 million each exemption.
Mm-hmm,
And within the will, there can be sub-trusts within your will.
Got
For the
it.
children as an example,
Gotcha.
right? If you have a special needs child, you can have a special needs trust within the will. It depends on the situation.
Got it. So maybe sounds like what you're saying, everything is about the process, not necessarily which product.
Exactly.
It's
Landon, it's like going to the doctor. I go to the doctor, say, Doc, I don't feel good. Here's an antibiotic, Nick, go home. You didn't examine me.
That's a great doctor.
You didn't take my x-ray. You don't know what's going on. How do you just give me how do you know what antibiotic to give me? Without going through a model, and people always ask, Nick, where should I put my money? I don't know anything about you. If somebody came to me and said, Nick, here's $10 million invested, I won't do it. Why? I don't know anything about you. What are your goals? What are your wishes? What are your objectives? What's your estate look like? Do you have a will? Right? See, everybody has a will unknowingly. It's called intestate. When my brother passed away, it cost me more in legal fees. He didn't have a will.
Wow.
It cost me more in legal fees to get his 3 kids, whatever little money he left behind, cost me more in legal fees to get them the money. That's intestate. A will is inexpensive to do. Very inexpensive to do. Okay. Trust can get a little more expensive, but a basic will is not an expensive proposition.
Wow. See, so basically, just to confirm, and I know maybe I'm a little facetious about it because we talk about the wealthy people, the secrets of the 1%, and we talked about the mindset of it. They're open-minded. They think of abundance. You think of these characteristics. So you're presenting an offer for people to go through a planning process to get clarity and introductions to the right, maybe property and casualty people, maybe the right attorneys, maybe the right CPAs, tax people. Maybe it's, for the estate taxes, maybe it's the right investment team or insurance team. So you're taking a financial x-ray and then you're putting it through a simulator, stress testing the rules and the strategies to make sure they make sense. And then getting connected with experts in each area that are on the same page, working in unison together to create maximum wealth for people.
Yeah.
And it's not costing anything other than what you have to pay, like the attorneys and stuff like that.
And all the advisors that invited you here today are very well equipped. How do I know this? They're all my students. So they're very well equipped to do this and teach this stuff to you guys and ladies.
Wow, that's awesome. Looks like we don't really have any more questions in the chat, but I want to thank everyone for showing up tonight and investing the time in yourself. That's just Keon.
Oh, that's Keon.
That's Keon. Don't worry. That's our co-host. He's just manning the chat, telling people thank you. But you guys are worthy ideal. Nick, I'll let Nick share his life purpose, and we'll end up with that. We're here to educate. We're here to make a difference. Now you look at me. My goal is to extract as much information out of his wealth of knowledge and give it to you guys. I may not have the 42 years experience, but I have the ability to put him in a position to give that to you guys. And I hope that is our gift to you. Now, all of you that brought other advisors or other advisors that invited you on the calls, we don't profit from that. But Nick, will you share, as we wrap up here for the night, will you share your life purpose and why you're doing this?
So why am I doing this? I haven't worked this late a long time, but we don't, as Landon said, we don't profit from this. This is a service that we're giving our advisors, our students that we love very much and care about very much because we see their passion and how hard they work and the impact they're making for generations. So why am I doing this? Every day I wake up, I thank God, right? Denzel Washington says it the best. At night, I put my slippers way underneath the bed. So in the morning when I wake up, I know I need to get on my knees. And I know that I was created for a purpose, a point in time while I'm here in this short life on earth. And every day I train my mind, not only physically I train, but I train my mind. And the reason why I'm doing this tonight is I say the purpose of my life is to be the best leader, teacher, and coach to my family, my friends, and my clients. I will live a happy, healthy, spiritual life full of love, joy, gratitude, passion, and financial freedom. I will live my life to its fullest potential for God, myself, and my family, while leaving an imprint on the hearts and minds of those I touch, so that I will leave a legacy long after I'm gone. That's why I'm here.
And if that's not the secrets of the 1%, I don't know what is. Thank you guys so much again. Have an amazing night, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.